Okay, we're getting ready to start chapter 6. So we're doing 6.1, section 6.1 ratios. Everything we'll do this chapter will have to do with ratios and rates. Okay, so this is basically our foundation for the rest of the chapter. Okay, a ratio is a comparison of two quantities by division, and you will see that ratios are written in three different ways. So we can say 1 to 5, that's a ratio. You also would say this 1 to 5. Okay, with the colon in between, or 1/5. Okay, you're going to notice that we are going to be writing everything as a fraction. Okay, we know that when we write fractions, they should be in simplest form, but today with our ratios, if you have a fraction that's improper, we're going to leave it. Okay, we want it to be 7 to 4. Now it's a little bit different if you have it, for example, 6/3. We do want you to reduce that even though it is an improper fraction, just because we know we can reduce it. So I would divide by 3 here, and it would be actually 2 to 1, okay, or 2/1. But we do want our ratio to be a comparison between two numbers. So keep two numbers within your answer of your problem. So to illustrate this, we're going to count the number of boys and girls in the classroom. So I'm totally going to make this up because you do not have any, obviously, classroom that you're in. So we're going to say we have 12 girls and 14 boys. So it says, what fraction shows the part the girls represent of the whole class? Okay, so the girls are 12. The whole class would include the boys and the girls. So we're going to add those together. And 12 plus 14 is 26. And that's going to be my total. So girls to whole class. All right, we know we can simplify this, so we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to divide by 2. And you get 6/13. Okay, so what this means is there are 6 girls for 13 total classmates. Okay, so out of the 13 people within the class, 6 of them are girls. All right, what fraction shows the part the boys represent? So there are 14 boys out of 26 total. And once again, we're going to simplify. So you get 7/13. So this means that there are 7 boys for every 13 classmates. Our last one says what would be the ratio that compares the boys to the girls. So boys needs to go on the top, boys to girls. So I have 14 to 12, and once again we want to reduce. So I can divide these by 2, and you get 7/6. So there are 7 boys for every 6 girls. And it's important that you understand that your ratio is going to represent a relationship. Okay, it's going to represent a relationship, so we need to make sure that we understand what that relationship is. The answer or the explanation is within your question. Okay, the question also tells you how to set up the ratio. So girls representative of the whole class, so girls to whole class. Okay, so the girls representing the 12 is on the top, 26 is on the bottom. Okay, boys to the whole class. This represents the boys, total students. Boys to girls, so the 7 represents the boys, the 6 represents the girls. Okay? All right, so it says use the information from the table to write each ratio as a fraction in simplest form. Okay, so we're going to compare adults to students. So there are 24 adults over 180 students, and we're going to simplify it. So we know we can divide by 2, and we get 12/90, and we can divide again by 2 and get 6/45. Okay, I can actually divide by 3 again and get 2/15. So there are 2 adults to every 15 students. Okay, buses to people. So there are 4 buses, and people would include students and adults. So we're going to add these together. So this is 204 people. So 4/204. And I'm going to go ahead and divide this by 4, and you get 1/52. Well, I'm sorry, over 51. I apologize. So there's 1 bus for every 51 people. Okay, students to buses. So 180 students. And there are 4 buses. So I'm going to simplify this once again. I can divide by 4, it looks like. And I get 4 goes into 18 4 times, with the remainder of 2, 25. Okay, students to buses, there are 45 students for every one bus. Okay, and the last one, adults to people. So 24 adults, and adults are people, so the total number of people we said were 204. I'm going to divide by 4. Okay, and I get 6 over 51. Okay, and I'm going to divide by 3 again, and you get 2 over 17. So there are 2 adults for every 17 people. Okay, so these are our answers. You're going to set it up, make sure you're setting up comparing the correct things. Okay, and once again, your answer is going to be within your form. Determine whether the ratios are equivalent. Explain. Now, equivalent means that they are equal to. Okay, so I have 20 female lions to 8 males, and I want to know if it's equal to 34 female lions to 10 males. Okay, so we're trying to figure out if they're equal. So one of the ways to go about doing this is to put them both in simplest form. If they simplify to the same number, then they're going to be equivalent. So I have 20 and 8. I can divide, I can divide these both by 4. And I would get 5 over 2. 34 and 10, I can divide these both by 2, and I get 17 over 5. They're both in simplest form, and they are not equal. So these are not equivalent. Because they simplify to different fractions. Okay, we want the fractions to represent the same thing. Okay? All right, 27 students to 6 microscopes. So I want to know if 27/6 equals the same thing as 18 students to 4 microscopes. So once again, I'm going to simplify. Divide this by 3, and I get 9 over 2. Divide this by 2, and I also get 9 over 2. So are they equivalent? Yes, they are equivalent. So because when put into simplest form, they represent the same fraction. Okay, so if they simplify to the same thing, they're going to represent the same situation. All right. It is recommended that no more than 1 person be allowed into the shallow end of the pool for every 15 square feet of surface area. If the local pool's shallow end has a surface area of 1,800 square feet, are the lifeguards correct in allowing 120 people into that part of the pool? Okay, so they said no more than 1 person allowed in the shallow end for every 15 feet. So 1 person to 15 square feet. They want to know if they are allowed to do 120 people. Okay, for 1,800 feet. Okay, so we need to simplify. Now this is already in simplest form, so we need to see if this simplifies down. Okay, remember that you're allowed to use calculators now. If I haven't told you that, you are allowed to use calculators now. So I can divide, I'm going to try dividing these both by 120. Okay, because if it simplifies the same thing, that should be a 1, and I know 120 divided by itself is 1. Okay, 1,800 divided by 120 is actually 15. So is that allowed? Yes. Okay, yes, because 120 to 1,800 represents the same fraction as 1 to 15. Okay? So once again, you're setting up your ratio. Now, I put person to feet on purpose so you make sure you set it up correctly. Okay, this ratio represents certain units that go along with it as well. All right, and that's it. If you have any questions, make sure you ask Mr. Corling or I tomorrow, and we'll go over this further, obviously, in class as well. But once again, it has to do with how you're actually going to set up the fraction. All right, using that word to is going to show you what goes on the top, what goes on the bottom. Also looking at the units and making sure those are set up correctly as well. It's going to ensure that you're doing it correctly. Okay, thank you.